The Prepper Historian family, before we get deep into this, make sure you subscribe, because what you're about to learn isn't the recycled surface-level history most channels push. This is the kind of detail serious historians and survival-minded viewers come here for. Give me just a minute to hook you, because this overlooked object is honestly one of the most important, most misunderstood, and most mysteriously forgotten tools of the First World War. It wasn't a rifle. It wasn't a bayonet. It wasn't a gas hood or a helmet. It was a hybrid trench tool quietly carried by men who understood that surviving the mud, shellfire, and close-quarter chaos of the Western Front depended on far more than issued gear. Every trench veteran knew its value, officers usually overlooked it, and, well, modern historians barely mention it. Yet it saved lives every single day. Today we're bringing that lost tool back into the light. The reason this forgotten trench tool matters is that it reveals a level of frontline adaptation that's rarely discussed in mainstream narratives. Men needed gear that worked in the moment, not equipment that just looked good in quartermaster records. This tool, part entrenching implement, part emergency weapon, and part all-purpose survival kit, became the unofficial backbone of trench life. Once you understand its story, you'll also understand how frontline soldiers actually survived, and you'll walk away with skills and principles you can use right now in real-world preparedness. Let's start with what this tool actually was and why soldiers treated it as a lifeline. Most people today know the standard entrenching tools issued during the First World War. Clunky shovels, fragile pickaxes, and awkward spades that looked impressive on paper but honestly suffered in the mud. The forgotten tool wasn't one of those. It was a compact folding or half-length trench tool soldiers modified for strength and speed. It could dig, pry, chop, and brace. Troops filed the edges into cutting surfaces, reinforced handles with wire or scrap metal, and carried it within seconds of reach rather than strapped uselessly on the back. This was the soldier's real multi-tool before the word even existed. It didn't come from a design board. It came from necessity and constant battlefield pressure. Understanding why it vanished takes us deeper into wartime realities. Official armies preferred standardized equipment because it streamlined logistics. Improvised tools were viewed as unruly, even unsafe through the bureaucratic lens. But, bureaucrats weren't living in the trenches. When a dugout began collapsing from shell shock waves, this compact trench tool could carve a support notch or clear a blockage fast enough to save a section. When men had only seconds to deepen a firing step before an assault, this tool kept them alive. It was reliable in ways that the standard-issue shovels simply weren't. Its disappearance wasn't due to poor performance. It disappeared because it didn't fit into neat post-war equipment catalogues, and because the voices of the men who used it didn't shape procurement decisions. To understand its battlefield value, you really need to look at trench life from a practical angle. The Western Front wasn't just static mud. It was constant adjustment, reinforcing weak sections, cutting drainage channels, digging scrapes to shelter from machine gun bursts, and carving footholds during nighttime movement. A soldier couldn't use a long shovel in cramped quarters without exposing himself above the parapet. But the compact trench tool could hack through tree roots, pry rocks, or quietly shape fighting positions without drawing attention. Many veterans described it as the one object they always kept within arm's reach, even when dropping their packs in panic or exhaustion. This brings us to how modern viewers, both historians and preppers, can use this knowledge today. The principle behind the forgotten trench tool is simple. Mobility, durability and adaptability beat size and complexity in survival situations. If you're building a personal preparedness kit, the lesson is to carry an all-purpose tool you can rely on instantly without unpacking a bag. In practical terms, that means choosing a compact entrenching tool with a reinforced joint, a sharpenable edge, and a handle long enough for leverage but short enough for tight spaces. The first step is selecting one that functions as shovel, hoe, and chopping edge. The second step is strengthening it, just like WWI soldiers did, by wrapping the handle with grip tape or paracord and making sure any folding joint locks under pressure. The third step is practicing quick deployment, because a tool's real value shows when reaction time is measured in seconds. Another useful takeaway is how modifying gear can turn a decent tool into a vital one. WWI soldiers routinely remove paint, sharpened edges, and adapted handles to suit their dominant hand and common tasks. Applying that today means, well, testing your equipment under realistic conditions. If your survival shovel can't dig through compacted soil or cut a branch without bending, upgrade it. If the locking mechanism feels loose, reinforce it. This isn't about making your kit heavy. It's about ensuring that every item earns its place. The trench tool's role as an emergency weapon also shouldn't be ignored. While most people associate WWI close combat with bayonets, veterans often preferred a strengthened entrenching tool because it was faster in confined spaces. This offers modern viewers another lesson. In extreme close-quarter situations, leverage and control matter more than length. The focus should always be on practicality rather than theatrics. The final reason this forgotten tool deserves renewed attention is what it tells us about the mindset of soldiers who survived that conflict. They didn't rely solely on issued equipment. They refined it, adapted it, and personalized it. That mindset, constant improvement, should sit at the core of every preparedness plan. Read history not as a record of what happened, but as a record of what worked. If you gained value from this deep dive into WWI's forgotten lifesaver, the trench tool that vanished, make sure you subscribe, share this video with fellow history enthusiasts, and help keep this level of serious practical historical knowledge alive.